Tom here at Sharpening Supplies, and recently John bought some new tools and he made a bit of a comment about how some of them are difficult to sharpen. And so we've all decided to bring in some of our woodworking tools that are difficult to sharpen, and we'll go over why and ways to sharpen them. So John, what have you got?
Well, let me start us out with my new favorite. This is a Stanley 100 and a half. It's a squirrel tail plane. And I'm sure you're looking at it and saying like, oh, that looks just like a Stanley 100, but in fact, it's different.
It's adorable.
Yeah. Well, the other one's adorable too, but this one's adorable and special. So this one has, this one's curved this way. It's also curved, has a slight radius this way. So this radius is actually that's what makes it difficult. And so, so the plane iron, as you can see, has this curve, but it also needs to match. It needs to match the curve of this. So, unlike, let's say this is a Stanley number 40, this one is also curved, but because this is flat and then the curve protrudes.
Sure. The whole idea of that one is that it sticks out beyond the flat sole.
And so it makes a curved cut. It's a scrub plane. It makes a curved cut in your wood. So if you're off a little bit, it doesn't matter. But on this cute little guy, it makes a difference. So you need to, while you're sharpening, you need to make sure you're sharpening at the same curvature.
So how would you sharpen this one?
So the easiest thing that I found is to use a tool rest on the Tormac, and you're just laying it flat. It's just basically a flat rest, and you've got the wheel coming at it, and you're basically just turning it. So you have to keep that nice radius. And just this being small just makes it a little extra hard. So the next one I have, actually kind of throwing it here. This one's actually easy to sharpen.
Okay.
So this one's a Stanley number 20, a circular plane, quite an attractive looking plane. And what this one does, if I turn this wheel, you can see.
Oh, you've broken it.
It's got a nice curve in there. So, and I can actually flip it the other way. So, as you can imagine, as the name suggests, it is for planing on a curve.
Curve surface.
Hence the circular plane. But the actual the plane iron in here is just regular straight across. So
even though it looks complicated,
but actually super easy. These look kind of easy, but they're very kind of complicated. So
yeah,
excellent.
Yeah. So I quite like green woodworking, so things like spoon carving and whatnot. And so I've brought some of my tools that I use in that. And I think this tool has some similarities with your little squirrel plane in that there's a couple of different curves going on. So obviously there's this big curve here, but on the outside bevel, there's a curve as well. And it's that outside bevel that makes it quite difficult to sharpen. You want a nice curve on the outside bevel because it's going to follow the inside curve of a bowl or inside a spoon. So typically sharpening this, we'll get the inside, we'll sharpen that with our abrasives. I quite like to use the DMT diafold serrated knife sharpeners, but I think the DMT kitchen knife steels would probably work really well. I haven't tried that yet, but something I want to try. And then it's getting the outside is tricky. I'll usually raise a burr, and then on the outside, I'll just strop it away to try and keep that curvature. Typically, clamping this in place, holding it in place, and then moving the abrasive over it. For stropping, you can move this over the strop. And so, kind of difficult. Also, it's big.
Yeah, it's big, and it needs to be really sharp if you're going to use your own strength to pull it through the wood.
And so, with a tool that requires a little less strength, but is also a little tricky to sharpen, I've got an adze. And so this is a bowl adze. It's kind of like a sideways axe, and a gouge had a love child. And so it's just got curve in this direction, and it's just quite a heavy tool, and so sharpening it makes it a little bit difficult as well.
Is the bevel on the inside or the outside?
Yeah, inside bevel on this one. Yeah.
So what would you use to get at the bevel?
Again, that DMT serrated sharpener. So any kind of round sharpener would work. You could use slipstones or round files, and then any sort of flat on the outside. So stones. Typically, I'll again hold that steady and then move the stone over it.
What's this beast?
This is a little bit like John's last one. Technically, it's not difficult to sharpen. Like, the technique isn't too complicated. So this is a hewing axe. This is for making round timber square. And it's got a big old flat side that I've started to do some work on, but still needs a lot more work. And so this side will hew a timber flat, and then you've got a big old bevel on this side, so it's single beveled, and it's just a lot of steel to remove. Nothing complicated about it. It's just big lump of metal. That's what takes a lot of work.
Yeah, I think that's legitimately difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Now my little baby seems kind of easy now, to be honest.
So I'm assuming this is a case where it's easier, safer to immobilize the tool and move the stone or whatever you're using over the tool.
Yeah, and so on the back I have been trying to use a belt sander just because it speeds things up, and so I will move the axe over that because I'm not holding the belt sander. But yeah, for this bevel along the front here, excuse me, you're definitely just clamping this to the edge of a workbench and then moving the stone over it.
Trying to think how you move that across.
Yeah. Especially with the handle in the way. So those are my difficult to sharpen tools.
Nice.
All right. I brought carving tools, kind of similar to Tom's adze and spoon knife there, but typically on a smaller scale. And so V-tool, we've got a facet here, a facet there, and a round. Plus, you also have to be able to do something on the inside. This is a spoon gouge, which has got a couple things going on. It's curved. This one's relatively flat, but it's curved this way. You got to get the inside and the outside, and then also just because that's short, it's just difficult to manipulate. So the outsides of these, pretty straightforward. You can put those on a flat stone like you would a chisel and sharpen. This one's particularly tricky because you got to get that
transition,
between the two facets. They're tricky.
Yeah. Despite what Tom says.
It's
tricky.
I don't think they're that bad, but yeah, maybe I'm doing it wrong.
Maybe it's an Englishman thing. I don't know. But it's the insides because you really do need to work the insides as well. And with carving tools, I've always kind of found it's a case of find the stones that fit your tools as opposed to the other way. Because there's so many different sizes and shapes of these. There's not one slipstone that's guaranteed to fit everything. So you've got to look at Arkansas stones or India stones in various shapes or make fidgets to get in there. But can be done, but a source of a lot of frustration for beginning carvers.
Yes. And some of those V gouges are tiny.
Yeah, like the 1 or 2 millimeter wide ones. Those, I usually just kind of strop the inside, maybe on the corner or edge of your strop a little bit.
Yeah, if you can just strop it, it's a lot easier. If it gets so dull that strapping is not, then it's just. Then it's much more challenging.
I always tell beginning carvers, get a strop, put it next to you. Every few strokes in the wood, stop, do a few strokes on the strop, go back. It's going to save you so much time if you do it that way.
Yeah, my wife does lino cuts, and she's got some very small tools for that. They're exactly the same kind of V tools.
Is that where you got all your experience carving?
Yes,
Sharpening V tools?
Yeah, no, I like these for decoration on woodworking. So, like, if you do colorossing, it's kind of like in carved decoration.
So if you have any V tools you want to sharpen,
send them to Tom.
Very reasonable rates. Yeah. Excellent. So I would say most of our difficult to sharpen tools are difficult because they're curvy. And so that's usually it. So, and then we've got some that are just big or difficult to hold. What tools do you have that you find difficult to sharpen? Let us know in the comments. Are there any here that you actually think are kind of easy and we're wrong? Let us know. If you enjoy videos like this, then please subscribe for more.